And welcome to It's Fanbox, and specifically this show, we're talking about Agatha all along. We're talking about episodes 1 and 2. We will probably be coming back to you every week to break down what we're thinking with every episode. Because if you have not been watching this, what are you doing with your life? And just understand, if you were missing the vibes of WandaVision, it's back. But with me, I have got two creators with me. I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. We may have some others joining us a little bit later. But with all due respect, let's go ahead and bring on Sarah of Movies and Tea. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good, going good. Thank you for joining us. And just tell everyone where we can find you.
Yeah, sure. I'm across all platforms, including YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and I'm Movies in Tea.
Awesome, awesome. And if you've not seen we Movies and Tea, Sarah has been with us before on fandoms on the Nerd Initiative Network, and so we're just excited to have her join us here as we're doing our first exclusive It's Fanbox show. And so as we kick that off, and then I've also got David, also known as Xanatos online. He's a big Star Wars creator, but has also been walking me through, holding my hand through Doctor Who. So welcome, David. Go ahead and tell us where we can find you everywhere.
I am Xanatos1138 across all social media, mostly TikTok. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Absolutely. And David has also been willing to jump into the fray talking about toxic Star Wars fandoms. At some point, we're going to be doing an episode or a show called The Fandom Menace. And so that'll be coming at some point. With fan, if you don't know what's going on, It's Fanbox is more of the fan-focused division of the Nerd Initiative family. Our goal is to build up a place where fans can just talk about things, and it doesn't have to necessarily be positive topics. We are willing to talk about the toxic stuff and call it out for what it is. Whereas with Nerd Initiative, we want to make sure it's a safe place, I guess, even for the toxic people. I don't know how that works, but we'll figure it out. But we're definitely with where Nerd Initiative is more editorial now. This is going to be a little bit more creative and free thinking. That's why we say it's a sandbox, it's a soapbox, it's a sandbox, it's Fanbox. But before we get started going any farther, I've got images from the show that we can definitely talk about, like the different themes and what's going on. But let me go ahead and get everyone's initial opinion of the first two episodes of Agatha All Along. Sarah, you want to start us?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I thought the first episode was so good. Like, I think I said online, like, there's literally nothing I would change about that episode just because it was so good. The second episode was not as good in my opinion, but it was still really good and a nice build-up episode that left with a lot of suspense. So I've been liking it so far.
Okay. David?
The first episode, I thought that they were going to continue the trend of doing more show-themed things and just kind of keeping her in the hex for a little longer, but then they just got right into it in the second episode. And the road, and that song is still in my head. That was such a great, catchy song for that.
Oh, absolutely. Now it's funny. I actually liked the first episode because it laid the groundwork that Agatha was still stuck in the hex. She's the only person in Westview that's in the hex, whatever that meant. I love that they kind of like we jump into this like true crime show. And it's based off of, what was it, like Wanda Vision or something like that. And we've got her doing this whole thing, and everyone's acting. If you look, everybody else is acting as a little bit weird in the show, and I think it's more because they were all humoring her, and they all know her as one of her neighbors said, she's the nosy neighbor, though she threatened to hurt him if he said anything. I do like the fact that it only lasted one episode. I think it would have been too much playing into the role of like, oh, we're going to do something similar to WandaVision. It's like the cut and dry cookie cutter, recipe. And they didn't do that, which I was thankful for, because ultimately we kind of jump into that episode like, okay, everything is different. What's going on? What does this mean? And Aubrey Plaza as Rio right now, I'm going to say, fantastic. I did not think I wanted her in the MCU, and now it's all I can think about is she is the bad guy. She is the the dark version. No, whereas Agatha was the antagonist for WandaVision, Rio is the bad guy in this show, and I'm liking it, and I'm liking to see what happens next. So let's go ahead. We're gonna go and we're gonna dive in as as we ought to. So let me go ahead and get us. Where is our presentation? Just a second. Oh, of course, everything is like, oh, here we go. Okay, so we're gonna present, and that works for me. Okay, so first of all, when we got this show, the posters were so spot on that I was having a field day because one, I like collecting Marvel posters, and one, it's way too many. But two, the amount of theme, like horror or like Halloween themes that we got from this was just amazing. And that Rocky Horror Picture Show version is just chef's kiss. I absolutely love it. Any thoughts, you guys?
Yeah, I totally agree with the Rocky Horror. I'm not like a big, like honestly, I only recognize two posters, and more honestly, I didn't actually look at the posters. Like I saw a couple before the show came out, and then I was like, I don't know. There's so many dropping. I don't know if this is like gonna act like a trailer and it's gonna give something away. So I stopped looking. But yeah, I think they're all really like I'm looking at some of them for the first time now. They're amazing. They're so fun. Probably the most fun that like Marvel's had posters for a hot minute.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like if it would be fun to kind of go back and compare them to the actual like Halloween or horror movie like that they are comparative to, but just the different types of things. And again, we know from what we've seen in the trailers that the road is going to test them in different ways, and so this kind of plays into, I guess, different tropes that they're going to have to go into. And so maybe it is going to be like WandaVision a little bit because of the situations they find themselves in. But I love this. I think it's so much fun. I want more posters. And the great part about it is it's not that whole, like we get the one on the top, the one like right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the typical, like the splice of everybody in some way. And that one doesn't even look as wonky as some of the Marvel posters that we've gotten in the past. But then the rest of them are just completely themed. And I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I think I've only seen like 3 of these, and my eyes keep going to the one on the bottom right that looks like Maleficent or Snow White themed. Like that's trippy. I like that look.
Oh yeah. So if you don't know, you can go and look at a lot of these posters, and they were going through social media. So like if you weren't like watching Marvel on Instagram constantly or on Twitter or X constantly, you may have missed some of these. But I actually went into the Disney Plus media kit and found all of these, and I had to include them. They're just beautiful. So yeah. And yeah, like I want all of these on my wall in some place. I don't have room for it. You can see, but it just might be my Halloween between WandaVision and Agatha all along. That's my Halloween go-tos now. So next up, we get our first introduction. So the show starts off as a true crime, and let's face it, everything is pointing to this Jane Doe being Wanda. Sarah, you had a very interesting take on the conversation when she's going to the crime scene. Do you want to share that?
I did. I don't even remember.
The wink?
The wink. Oh yes. Oh my god, I totally remember now. It's been like a hot minute for like a couple of days. Anyways, yeah, so basically when they're going into the crime scene, they're talking about Wanda. Or no, they're talking about the unknown person who is like lying in this ditch. And Agatha makes a joke that like, oh, she could come back. You never know. And then she winked about it. And now obviously we know at the time, like, it's Wanda who's lying in that ditch, kind of like symbolic of the fact that the spell is breaking and like Wanda is supposedly gone. But
Mhm.
yeah, I like have a theory that Wanda's not actually like she can come back, and like I feel like Catherine Hahn slash Agatha kind of confirmed that within the wink. But
Yeah.
yeah, just something neat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's funny because Elizabeth Olsen is not ruling out coming back to the MCU. She just says it's got to
Right.
be really good.
Yeah,
So,
I'm totally on
yeah.
board for her to come back. Like I love
Mhm.
her.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's funny. Like when it comes down to inviting people to talk about Agatha all along, I wanted to go for Wanda fans, and so it's very easy, with all of this to. I mean, we talk a lot about Wanda, and I'm pretty sure we're not done with it because there is speculation about John Locke's character or Teen, as we know him right now. Should I dare say Wiccan or Billy?
Mhm.
Because I feel like that's where we're going with this. Um, and supposedly, and this is spoilers, and I'm sorry if I'm reading it for you guys. Supposedly, um, the um, the subtitles kind of spoiled a little bit and referenced him as Billy
Hmm.
at one point. So it's very possible. I mean, unless it's a misdirect, and they're really expecting that we're looking for. I mean, let's face it. After Acolyte and the descriptive audio for OSHA with our Sith friend, I think everybody's
Hmm.
listening to it with descriptive audio and subtitles at this point. But but yeah. So he's broken into her house, and of course it's important to point out that the room that he was in was Charles Scratch's house or Charles Scratch's room. We see the reference to her room at some point in the show, and she's like looking through, and a lot of people who aren't maybe comic book fans would know, but Charles Scratch is is Agatha's son in the comics, and is also an antagonist for the Fantastic Four, and for Agatha Harkness, which also a lot of people don't seem to know. Agatha's not really a villain in the comic books, and so for her to be portrayed as a villain in WandaVision, and even at the beginning of this being an antagonist, um that's not truly accurate to the character. Now, could they go a different route? They absolutely could. um but this character Teen takes and goes ahead and takes credit for breaking her spell. And of course we also see in the process, let's just talk about this whole process of her breaking this spell, her backtracking from all of the WandaVision episodes. um, what do you guys think about it?
It
Uh,
was so cool. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty epic way to like have her break out of the spell was to like rewind and basically start from the beginning over
Mhm.
again. And it definitely felt like it had that like crawling out type feeling.
Mhm.
Especially as she's kind of like struggling through all of these characters that were technically like one under Wanda's spell as well. So like her breaking out of all of those like people and personas, I thought was really nice.
Yeah, the visual of her actually breaking out of it and just shedding all of the TV personas that she had to go through. And I think I read somewhere that Catherine Hahn, like that was her idea to do the whole walking across the street to the neighbor just stark naked because she wanted to represent like she was totally free of all of it.
Yeah, yeah, I heard that too. A lot of I love the fact that everyone's just completely shocked, and we could. And I will say this: I love the fact that we got to see a lot of the Westview residents that we knew from WandaVision, and seeing them
Mm-hmm.
still like in Westview, and especially when she's like Wanda, and he's like, we don't really say that here, and it was just a nice reminder of where she's at and that she's been stuck, and the realization that she's been crazy this whole time, and everyone's kind of been bringing food to her and taking care of her. That's got to be one of the biggest slaps in the faces for her, as this powerful character that she is, and we see her taking back. um Now the question is the true crime Wanda Maximoff being the Jane Doe, was all of that a result of Wanda's spell breaking down, or was Aubrey Plaza's Rio doing the manipulation to get her to that point? That's one thing I've been kind of teeter-tottering behind, because we know that Teen takes credit for helping her break the spell, but I think she was already in that process, because there were things that were constantly trying to bring her back to a realization of reality.
I think Teen in some ways a little undercover. Like, he took credit for that, but he has a different motive that he's not sharing yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, there's a lot of things that are like unanswered. Like, why did he have to break in order to help her break out of the spell? Like, he could have just like knocked and walked in and like done it like the normal way. Or like maybe he like, I mean, my first instinct, like, as to like why he broke in is maybe he already knew about that delusion, and so like she would attempt to like quote unquote arrest him. But like, yeah, I don't, to your first question, I don't know why it was presented as a true crime. But that's a really good question. Like, I actually have no, like, why? I have no idea.
Yeah, could it be? I mean, let's face it. Like, if we're going with the simplest answer, Rio already bought the pizza, so it's not like he could just come in without. And maybe that was the thing. Maybe he's working with her, because she didn't seem to jump up or anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, could it be? I mean, if we're going to speculate, if it's Billy or Wiccan, and we know that he had ability and whatever, and now he's been reborn or whatever else, and he's now this individual. Is it possible he's orchestrating all of this because he has an end game that not even, let's say, Rio and all of them know? I personally think that it's Rio. That's what I thought, because she seemed very interactive in it. She was the one there trying to tell her, break out of your spell, crawl out. And she was like bringing things up, even the point of where he's like, this is how you see yourself. Like, she was even in the police office, in Agatha's office, like saying those things, like trying to make her think. And so it's really, it could be anybody's game at this point, of who's kind of like running the sham, I guess you could say. But yeah, I absolutely love this. I love this part. Again, there's her looking at the book, the checkout ticket for the toe tag. And then she's broken the spell. She wakes up in her house. She's got, clothes on. She realizes that, this kid is in her closet. Well, if you're real, and then all of a sudden Aubrey Plaza just bursts in, like she does, and just kind of goes at it. And I love the fact she's like, before she even wrote the hex, she's like, do you remember why you hate me? And the first thing she sees her after she's rather she's like, I hate you. And I so want to know the backstory between the two of them.
I agree. Yeah. Super mysterious. A lot of interesting tension. But yeah, that relationship I want to see unfold like a lot. They're cool characters, both of them together.
Yeah. And we know she'll join them on the road. We've seen that in the trailers, so it's not necessarily a surprise. But she's intended to be the member because of a certain individual. This whole scene was just fun. And I love this character. And it's like, all of these witches have been around for so long, and they've got issues, and they all have a reason to join the Witches Road. Yeah, I loved it. I loved how she's like, your reputation precedes you. She's like, I didn't have to use my powers. She knew who Agatha Harkness was. But in this section, or in this segment, we're on episode 2 at this point. She writes a list down of witches to join the coven, to be able to go down the Witches Road. And of course, we know that there are 4 witches that have to be a part of this, all of different elements. And she writes the last character, and we find out later on it's a heart, and it's a black heart. And so there are a lot of things they're pointing. So I've heard people, well, first of all, let me what do you guys? You give me your opinion. I'm talking way too much. You guys need to just jump out there and say things because I could talk all day and I don't need to do that.
Yeah. I don't know exactly. Like this character in particular, I just love, like, you know, I'm looking forward to the random stuff she's just going to yell out of nowhere. And the black heart, I want to know how the spell worked because they used Mrs. Hart instead of Rio, and the gate opened anyway. So like I want to know how that loophole worked.
Well, it's funny. In the WandaVision episode that Mrs. Hart joined in, there was a calendar that had a date, and of course it was in black and white, and it looked like a black heart. And it was supposed to be their anniversary. But it also ended up being the episode where the hearts came to the Wanda and Vision's house. I think that's a misdirect personally. I really do. I believe that there may be something where Mrs. Hart does have power. Maybe there's gonna be a turn for her where we find out that either she becomes or she is, a witch, and it worked, or the rest of them it worked out because they were all she made Wanda or Agatha made them so aggressive when she was trying to take their power when she thought it didn't work, that maybe that charged it enough. Or my personal thought is episode 1, Rio says that she has a heart and it's black. And then there's a black heart listed as a member. We know that she'll be on the Witch's Road with them. And somehow she can get on there without having been there with them. I personally think that Rio is Blackheart. I think Rio is the child of Mephisto. And I know you say Mephisto, and it's like, oh, we've been saying Mephisto since 2021.
Yeah.
But it makes it, maybe they did that on purpose to get guys like me to feel that way. But like literally, Mephisto's child is Blackheart. I think that Wanda was taken from Mount Wundagore by Mephisto and has been captured for the fact of like as punishment for destroying the Darkhold. And I think that Billy, i.e. Wiccan, i.e. possibly Teen, his whole goal is to get on the Witch's Road to free his mother. Like that's what I'd like to see happen. If I'm absolutely wrong, that's okay as long as they write it well. But like that's what I want. So
that last part I agree with.
Any excuse to get Wanda back.
Exactly. Yeah. You agree with nothing but the last part, right?
Yeah, I agree with the last part. Getting Wanda back is the goal. I am totally on board with that.
Yeah. But I can see, because so Blackheart is a character that I think has only been depicted once in media. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to do this to you. If you go back and watch the first Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider, the main villain was Blackheart, and like he was the one, and his whole goal was, to get get the 1,000 souls that were owed to Mephisto, and it was basically Legion and everything else, and of course with the whole biblical turn. But like I could see that being the case, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'm okay if I am. But it seems very funny because I've been wondering about the Black Heart since WandaVision, and wondering because everybody's like, oh, Mephisto. Well, it could easily have been Black Heart at that point too, because Black Heart, is on Earth, and who would give Rio rules? There is no coven rule about killing another witch, because we know from WandaVision, Agatha has killed witches before. Like she's taken their powers and killed them. But there's got to be something specific to Rio that says that she can't kill Agatha. So maybe it's because Daddy said no. I'm just saying.
Agatha knew it too. It's like, you can't kill me. It's not allowed.
Yep. Which would be interesting. Like, I'm just saying. And then I love the line. I mean, we're going back to episode 1, but she's like, yeah, I don't have to kill you, but I can make you wish you were dead. That's the only time you see Agatha like break, like, no, wait. So I would feel the same way. So Agatha gets back. She's gone through, and I wish they would have pictures of the other witches as they were getting caught up, and we'll see them in the circle. But she gets her swag back. She's dressed up nicely. But we know that Rio has put out the word that Agatha is back and is released, and the Salem 7 are notified, and we see a raven or a crow that is the first indication when she's going and looking for the witches to join her coven. And then we see a wolf outside the house, and then later on we see, and I think it might be the next thing, we see Teen walking outside seeing the Salem sisters, and that neighbor is a real one, but he's like, you see that?
Just double checking.
He dropped his groceries and just booked it, and that's what every person should do. That's absolutely.
Can you imagine like going through Wanda's spell and then like 3 years later seeing them being like, oh no, not this again. Like, I can't even imagine what he's going through. Like, I can't imagine, like, when I think about the people of New York in the MCU, they go through shit constantly with like the Avengers. So I'm just equating this to that.
Now we've got someone to join us right now. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on. Glad you were able to make it. I'm sorry if I just noticed that you were in.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry, I just got back from New Jersey. It was a long trip. So I'm here though.
Yeah, you were at Pop Mark. I'm super jealous.
It was epic. It was so fun.
That is cool. So let's just do this real quick. Go ahead and just say who you are and where we can find you on social media. We'd love to be able to do that.
Okay, so my name is Tony Ann, and my handles are Scarlet Bruja, BRUJA. Wow. And it is inspired by the Scarlet Witch, but in Spanish. So obviously everyone knows where I lie with all the Scarlet Witch opinions. And then on Instagram, it's the Scarlet Bruja. But yeah.
I'm telling you right now, for the longest time, because I didn't hear you say Bruja, I was like Bruja Pops. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people pronounce it as anyway, but I didn't. It's okay. Some people think my name is Scarlet, and I'm like, nope, but whatever.
I'll take it. Like I would take it.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, let's go ahead and get your opinion real quick. We'll get you caught up. What was your initial thoughts about Agatha all along, the first 2 episodes, and then we'll go from there.
I really liked the first 2 episodes. I mean, it's setting up mostly, but I enjoyed the first episode more because we got to like see Agatha for the first time in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Catherine Hahn is hilarious. And like from the get, it was very WandaVision-esque, which I really enjoyed. Like with her whole as a detective. And then I forgot what the sequence was where it was like almost like WandaVision, but it wasn't. It was like a fake title screen. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
It was like inspired by.
Yes. So I liked that a lot. And the second episode kind of confused me a little bit. It gave me more questions, but I think that's what it was supposed to do. So.
Oh yeah. What was really interesting was, did any of you guys in the end credits go back and like stop and read the articles and the little blips about what was going through?
No, I should have. I don't think we did.
There's a whole segment. I saved it on my phone. I didn't have a chance to throw it up on here, but the whole reason they take their shoes off at the end, like there's a whole thing explaining the rules about.
Yes. This is the first
like
step.
Taking off
take it off. Yep.
Yeah, and it is basically no artificial soul, nothing like that. Only the soul of the witch can make contact with the sacred ground. Like, it was very interesting. Like the 7. Then there was like a bunch of articles about witches saving people. There were like the things about like trials and stuff, but there was like a famine that was stopped, and there was like, people that were saved by witches. So it's like, I think they're trying to spin the witches as a positive thing. I wanted to wait until you got in to ask you guys this. So let's back it up a little bit. When Agatha is released and Teen and her are going to go get their coven, we saw the foundation of Wanda's old house that said "Evil Witch."
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to weigh in?
I knew they were gonna do something like that. Well, I mean, because they have a reason to hate her because she overtook their minds. But it was giving. I don't know much about the comics, but I know there's something with that they hate her in the X-Men comics or something like that. You guys probably know more than me with that, but I thought it was like they put her crown too. And did they know she was a Scarlet Witch? Like as she was doing it in WandaVision? Or was she just Wanda?
Well, she
That's a
landed
good
as a
question.
Scarlet Witch, right?
Oh, that's
Like she came out.
Oh,
But-
yes. Because they didn't show like the in between like WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness. So it's like, I don't know.
That's a good point. I mean, I always thought that with the events that happened, like it was the same thing. Like, okay, so if they would have known that Scarlet Witch, was Wanda, then wouldn't the town known that Agatha was a witch as well?
Yes, that's what I
right?
thought. That's what I thought.
The only thing. What do you think?
I mean, like my only thing is like, I mean, if I'm going back, like based off the landing logic, like she technically didn't land as, or maybe she did. I don't know. Well, maybe like the whole town saw her like be put under Wanda's spell again. So like, therefore, they're taking pity on her. Even though she is a witch and they're like, whatever. Or like maybe in their mind, they're like, oh, she was trying to fight Wanda and Wanda was like the bad guy in that scenario. So like it could have been that justification, but I don't know.
I like that. I like that better than my thoughts on the topic because that would make sense why they took care of her because she was the only one that tried to fight for them, except for like Sword. So maybe they thought she was good in her own respect. My other thought was the hex was not down at the time that Agatha was put back under the spell. And so maybe they were still kind of on their brainwashy, like, drone lifestyle. And when the spell was released, well, no, because remember, she didn't take the hex down until she went back to her house because the moment she took the hex down, Vision and the kids were gone.
Right.
So maybe the hex goes down and everyone notices that the only person that's not unaffected or is not like released is Agatha, and they all took pity on her. But I like the idea that they thought she was the hero more than anything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And then, of course, Agatha spits in in the direction of her home.
That was funny.
Yeah,
very Agatha.
Which will be interesting if they end up working together in the future. Like, I would love to see that.
I feel like she secretly really loves Wanda. She just doesn't know.
I mean,
how
she
to
was crying,
Yeah, like I was getting like she really cares for her, but then on the other end, she's like, "Well, you messed up my entire plan. Like you foiled everything, and you got this power of the Scarlet Witch. Like, because she wanted that. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and it was interesting because in one way she was judging Wanda because the Scarlet Witch was going to bring all of this horrible stuff, and yes, she did some terrible things, and then she was able to course correct and destroy the Darkhold, which was something that I don't think, because it was interesting because every time the Darkhold was mentioned, it was like you kept it for yourself.
Yes.
And there was this anger. And I think like the Darkhold is kind of like the One Ring, I guess, when it comes to the witches. It's like there's immense power that comes with it, but there's also this craving to have it as your own. And they like one of the reasons maybe that Agatha, beyond the stealing everyone's powers, from way back when, which when she called her coven of like dust, I'm like, yeah, you did that, sister. Like that's your doing. Like you took your own coven out. Like, it's like let's just take it as it is. I did think it was interesting that she told that one witch like how that worked, and gave her that that hint, but didn't realize it was going to backfire at her in the basement.
Mm.
I don't know if she did that. I mean, she seemed kind of like it kind of seemed like she was in a silly. It didn't seem very serious, you know, like in the basement. I feel like she was kind of like saying it to like get them riled up, and you saw that like
Mhm.
their sparks were kind of flying, and then after that happened, that's when the door opened. So I don't know if like Agatha knew that like these women who have like suppressed their powers for so long needed to like kind of get it out in order to open the doorway, but
Mhm.
I could be wrong.
And
And she was just like really dumb in that moment.
Agatha saying, "I never doubted us for a second" when they got in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Did we talk about Mrs. Hart already? Because I'm confused.
A little bit.
Yeah, so we did talk about it. Well, let's go ahead and talk about her. Let's talk about the witches, especially and Mrs. Hart. What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm confused. Why? Because I thought it wasn't supposed to work if you're not a witch and you're not like doing the chant or whatever. Or is she allowed to just be there and then go down the witch's road? I was confused on that.
I kind of wonder, like, so we were talking about it. I wonder if them being charged up, like she realized it wasn't working because there wasn't enough power being put out because Hart wasn't a witch, and that's why she riled them up. That may be why she did it. But also, what I mean is there like some saying that there's a little bit of witch in everybody, especially they needed a green witch and she was
has
a
the green
gardener.
thumb.
Yeah, and so maybe Agatha knew she had some ability, though she wasn't the chosen member of the coven. Agatha kind of manipulated it and played the numbers.
She was still
That's
in
a good
that
point.
3-mile radius. That 3-mile
Yeah.
radius they mentioned, she was still there.
Yeah, I thought it was just I didn't know like I'm not is it like a requirement for all of the witches in the coven to like be like a full witch, or does she just need a coven of people?
Well, she needs a coven, and we already know that one of the witches doesn't have power right now, especially.
Oh yeah, the potion one.
Yes, I forget her name, but she's like she was. I just loved what they could. Could you imagine like getting a candle that you could eat?
Well,
But
I
then
mean,
you
she's
find out
had
that everyone's getting.
lawsuits, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I don't know if I would take that candle.
Yeah. It's like, I thought you were powerless. It's like, and you look like you need a chemical scrub. I was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, I would love we know that Aubrey Plaza's character has a reveal somewhere in the show. And I think I already know what that is. I think it's Blackheart, but we've already talked about that. But I would love to see Mrs. Davis or Mrs. Hart be another character that she's been lying in wait this whole time. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I just think she's a great actress too. I love everything she's in. She's just so much fun. When I saw she was in WandaVision, I loved it. And then when I saw her, I think it was the video I saw for the D23 where they're all walking out, I'm like, oh, she's coming back. I'm like, I can't believe this. This is awesome. And then made me think how many witches were in Westview. So
yeah, she's so cool.
Yeah. And let's talk about the song, because this moment was an entire vibe for me. I loved this.
Loved it.
Stuck in my head still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool in D23, but when this happened, I was like, no, this is now I need this record, because this is going to go right next to Agatha All Along over and over. So
I still think Agatha all Along is at the top for me. That was like life-changing, honestly. I loved it.
Well, it was a great turn in the show. It was a great surprise twist. And a great way to do it, by the way. Like I just thought that was so fun. But this, I mean, and let's also give it to Mrs. Hart. She doesn't know any of the words, but she's just headbanging to it.
She was bopping along. It was great.
She's like, I got this like downbeat. I'll sing that.
Yeah. And then she's finally saying the words at the end, which made me think, oh, maybe she was just playing around. Maybe she actually knows it. But I'm like, we don't know how many times they actually would have like been saying it and you at least know the down the witch's road part at that
Yeah.
point.
I think she was
And the
honestly
entire
only saying like down, down, down. I think she was just saying down, down, down
Yeah.
continually.
she's I also love the fact that when she came down the first time and they're all like in a circle, she's like, so are we gonna do wash together?
I loved that. That was so funny.
No, I think she's the comedy relief because I think there's gonna be a lot of dark elements. I mean, the other ones are gonna be sassy, serious witches, and they're gonna be. I mean, they're gonna be going at each other. You've got Teen, aka Billy, who is the like secretive, excited individual, and he's gonna play that. He's gonna play that note, I think, until we find out what his real motives are. But she's like the lighthearted, just fun, like I'm along for the ride. And I love she was the last one down the stairs at first, and I guess like, trust you, what's your gut say? And she's like, I'm not sticking around.
I could see her being like the ace in the hole at some point, like they're facing some big creature and she comes with shears and cuts it and just laughs like she laughs. It's like, I did it,
Oh yeah. And of course we didn't see, we didn't see the gate at first. And then we know we were just talking about Agatha kind of going at them and baiting them. And of course we have this thought that she was trying to take their powers. It could possibly been a last ditch effort because she thought the gate wasn't going to open, and the only way she was going to survive the Salem 7 is if she had their powers, which is possible. But of course we know when she's on the road, she's like, I never doubted us for a second. But I think the tension between these women is something I'm looking forward to seeing, because they're not here because they want to be with Agatha. They're here kind of because either fate chose them to be, or because they need it themselves. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing who groups together and who kind of trust each other. And of course, when Aubrey Plaza's character says, the bodies are starting to pile, I really don't want to know what that means yet. But
well, it's Marvel, so
the gate was really cool. And of course we have the tension of, the Salem 7 are entering the house. I don't know really how you would have kept them out of the house with just a couch on the doorway.
They were terrifying. I was scared.
he tried.
They played all of the good notes from Multiverse of Madness when Wanda was at Comertage and she's like creeping through the glass and stuff.
That's one of my favorite scenes in that movie. Oh my gosh, so good. But yeah, it was giving that very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they almost look like brides in a sense. Like it was like black wedding style dresses.
Yeah,
so,
they kind of look like Dementors, honestly.
I've been watching lots of Lord of the Rings, and they reminded me of the ring wraiths.
Oh, yeah. I bet there's probably a lot of comparative things that they could be like. I kind of want to know why they're after Agatha, though. Like, there's got to be a backstory to it. And if Rio can get into the Witch's Road without a coven, can they?
Right. But who said that she did? Like, who said that she wasn't just like coming down in some secretive way?
Or maybe she came with the Salem 7.
Oh. Yeah. Also, like, did we ever figure out like who all those animals were? Like, is that Rio? And could she have gone down as like a rat?
Or a rabbit?
Rabbit.
Oh, I thought the rabbit was Nicholas Scratch.
Was it Nicholas? I called him Charles earlier. I messed that up.
I think is it Nick? I think so.
I think you're right.
It's someone's Scratch.
Yeah.
I thought that's who the rabbit was.
Of all the Westview residents, the one that I wish we would have gotten again, Ralph Boner.
Yeah, they better not pull another one of those. Please. I will be so upset.
Yeah, I agree. No, but I absolutely love this. I love the fact that they go down. Of course, they're going. Never mind. They're going down the Rich's Road, but they go down. I mean, this was just beautiful. Like you're going through, and you're coming down this it's like a cave, because at one moment there's the doors and the Salem 7 are pounding, and then all of a sudden it's solid granite above her head. And of course she feels safe, and she's going down these stairs, and they end up on the witch's road. And the shock and awe of this group, like realizing that this is actually happening and that many of them are probably not going to come back, because the witches were, I mean, especially one, our member of the coven, I don't remember her name right now, but the Hot Topic security guard,
Yes.
on the right hand side, her mother was lost to the witches road.
Right.
And so this is more of a, trying to find out what happened to mommy. And they're all desperate at some point except for Mrs. Hart.
She's just there for the vibes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She still thinks they're doing laundry.
Right. Well, I wonder what I was trying to brainstorm was like why Teen or Billy, what his real motive is for like going to the end of the witch's road.
Yeah. I was saying earlier, I think my thought was Mephisto has been angry at Wanda for destroying the Darkhold, and so when Mount Wundagore goes down, there's that puff of red. And I don't think that's chaos magic going poof. I think that's possibly Wanda being transported somewhere. And I think she may be captive. And Billy is going the witch's road to find Wanda.
I was thinking something very similar.
Yeah, because it would make sense that he may have also put this. I don't know if he put the spell on himself or because, if I remember correctly, from the storyline, Wanda goes mad. She has these fictitious kids. Their souls go into other children, and there is this point where Wanda doesn't even know that they're them. And it could be the deal that like the deal with the devil, making the deal that he can't disclose who he truly is. And what would be interesting is he finds his mom, he gets his mom free, and she doesn't acknowledge him as her son because she doesn't know. Like that's a high possibility. Like if he can't articulate it to Agatha, can he articulate it to his mother in the future? Because somebody put that spell on him because he wouldn't have self-imposed it.
I thought it was. I mean, I talked about this a little on TikTok, but I thought if he is fully Billy Kaplan, like then I would think like Wanda would put the spell on him to like prevent any other witch who might want to harm him in any way, like from knowing information about him. So I thought it was like a protection spell put on him if he is Billy, like from Wanda.
Now, here's my question, though. If that's the case, and I'm not saying it's not, but why would she be going the multiverse trying to find Billy otherwise?
Right.
Maybe she put it on the beginning. I don't know.
Because wouldn't she
like,
see
birth
him in dreams then in her universe? Right? Maybe.
But who's to say that this is like the correct universe's? Like, what if this isn't 616?
Right.
Billy.
Oh, I don't want to hear that. Oh well.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying that this isn't the 616 like storyline. Like if it's just not the 616 Billy, that I could be okay with.
Billy.
I'm like, okay, I can handle that. handle that.
No.
What would be interesting? Okay, let's play this a little deeper. The Wanda Maximoff of the universe that the multiverse of Madness, it was like 6 something. I can't remember what it was, 630 something. That she had possessed.
Oh,
what if she put the A3? What if she put the protection on her own son and sent him to go free this Wanda?
That checks out because, like, I mean, if somebody's breaking into your house and like putting a spell on you, then like. Who knows who would put a spell on like their kid? Like that checks. Yeah, I totally believe that.
So it could have been that version of Wanda putting a protection on him, And we already know that there are some really weird incursion style things that are going to be happening in the multiverse. I mean, we're leading up to a Secret Wars. So it's possible within one of the events that have happened, whether it's in the Marvels or, the end of Multiverse of Madness, that Billy could have ended up in 616. I hate calling it 616. Kevin Feige. But he possibly has that protection from his mother, and he's going to save the only other person he knows that could possibly get him back to home.
Yeah. Maybe. I'm still holding out hope that he's Nicholas Scratch Loki, but
well, his outfit in one of the previews was giving very much Billy Maximoff. So I was like,
I totally agree with you, but I'm still holding out.
But we know that they are great about misdirecting us.
Yeah,
that's what my husband was saying, the same thing, and I'm like, I want it to be the way I'm thinking for once. It never is.
I think there's so many foreshadows to like Nicholas and like the son, and like one of the witches even said like, who's this pet? And it's like funny that like Agatha's pet is literally called Scratchy. So like there's just like a couple things that I'm just like maybe.
And then it's going to end up being Nicholas Boner.
Please don't. Oh my gosh.
No. I'll turn off my TV at that point.
Oh man. So they go down the witches. Do I have another slide? Is there another slide? Yes, there's one more slide. But which is not much different from the one that was just before. But yeah, so this is the point where she walks away from them after saying, I never doubted you or I never doubted us, for a second. And of course she ends up taking her shoes off and then walking down the road, which I absolutely loved. And if you don't know the reason behind it, go back and read some of the stuff. There's one specifically, it's like an old, entry in a book, and it's got a shoe next to it, and basically it's just saying that before you set foot on the hollow grounds, you take off your shoes. There can be nothing between the witch and the sacred ground except for her own soul, which I thought was a really poetic way of saying it, and it makes me want to go back and read more things, because it's like the same thing like we found out with the first season of Loki, like that Loki was gender fluid, because you could see his his file there on the credits. Which if you don't read comics, you would have already known that. And now we're going to go down this road, and we've already seen teasers, and I wish they would give us the teasers like after the episode, next week, and give us something, but we have to wait till like Wednesday to see it. But we know that there's a point where they're like in 80s outfits, and it's going to be fun, and it looks like they're put in these different challenges, and they're not lighthearted challenges. It's currently at, I believe, 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's certified fresh. Now it's 79% after 75 reviews, which is really pathetic that it's getting that low and people are crapping on it for that rating. But I think if I remember correctly, right now, if you look at Deadpool and Wolverine, it's certified fresh at like 78%. So we know there is going to be the He-Man Woman Haters Club that's going to be coming at this film, or at this
they're on
this
IMDb.
series. Oh yeah. And Twitter. I think it's already going out. What real Marvel fan would have asked for this stuff? And I'm like, right here.
Yeah.
We all did, but not you.
I think what they forget is it's world building. It's building this. We know they were really cautious about bringing magic into the MCU. Even to the point of with Thor, they were justifying it as technology that you didn't understand yet. And then we finally got Doctor Strange and they let it happen. They let it go loose, but it was still under rules and restrictions. And there was power things where the Ancient One could only live as long as she did because she was drawing energy from the dark dimension. And you had all of these rules and explanations. And then of course I feel like a lot of that went out the window with Deadpool and Wolverine for the fact that the sling ring could get you out of, the end of everything and bring you into a different universe. Please explain that. but a lot of us want world building. We want these worlds. We want these characters. And see, I keep looking at when I saw Agatha Harkness in WandaVision, I knew she has a tie to the Fantastic Four, and there is still that potential. I mean, she's like the caretaker for Franklin Richards. She teaches the kids magic, and there's a whole thing with the Salem 7 and with Nicholas Scratch in New Salem where the Fantastic Four are involved, and I feel like we're going to get down that road, and I'm looking forward to it. And for anybody who doesn't like this stuff, just shut up and let us enjoy what we're watching. But speaking of shut up, I'm going to be quiet now, and I want you guys to talk about your thoughts, what your hopes are for the show. What are your projections? I've already thrown mine out there, but I'm going to keep quiet now. So,
who's going first?
Well, as someone that is kind of a minor comic book reader, like I don't delve too much into. In fact, I actually started reading Scarlet Witch comics because of the MCU Scarlet Witch. I have no idea where the show is going to go. I have no clue, but I am really excited to see what direction it takes and what we're going to see in the coming weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. There's a lot of stuff that's left unanswered, and somebody on social media said I haven't seen this many theories since WandaVision came out, or even since Loki, I would even wager to say, but mainly WandaVision. There's just so much mystery, so much intrigue. I'm really, really pumped to see where this leads. And I'm also really excited that everyone's so hyped and doing all the theories again. It makes the experience so much more fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm really excited for Rio specifically. I'm very excited for her. And then I'm hoping that at Scarlet Witch is going to be referenced a lot, but I'm hoping there's just another Easter egg of her right at the end, or seeing her hands with the magic or something. I'm begging Marvel at this point, please just give me a crumb of her. That's all I want. But I'm hoping people love Agatha a little more. I feel like people just thought of her as comedic relief during WandaVision. And I hope it gets more people to read the Scarlet Witch comics, because I started reading the comics also because of the MCU, and all of her storylines are so good. The Children's Crusade and what's the other one where she says no more mutants? I forgot the name of it.
Oh, House of M.
House of M is my favorite. So I don't know. I think diving into the world of magic in the MCU is so fun, and I hope they do it justice, because I don't want them to mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny. I'll be honest, as of this year, it's been hard. I would even say back with the SAG-AFTRA strikes, it was hard to get back into the groove of wanting to talk consistently about Marvel, talk consistently about, what I was excited for. I was excited for things. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I love Deadpool and Wolverine. I loved Wakanda Forever and stuff like that. But I haven't had the excitement like I did with WandaVision until now. And it is exactly what Sarah said. It's all of these little things that, could this be a thing? Could this be a thing? Like I haven't had something really trigger. The only thing you go for with Marvel movies lately has been oh, what Easter egg? What is this? What is this a reference to? And I love doing Easter eggs, but there's something about making you think about, okay, can I predict what's going to happen next? And could I be right, or could I be wrong? Or, oh, do I like this person's that's why I've been watching Sarah's videos, because every time there's a new Agatha Harkness breakdown of something, I'm like, oh yeah. I love the one where she's talking about she's terrified of the wolf, and then all of a sudden she sachets her coat, and it's like those little things that you don't think about, and those little references that make it absolutely worthwhile and makes you want to look and say, could that be something? I remember it was the second episode of WandaVision. I think it was the first one. I think it was the one where it was the cartoon intro. And you have Vision phasing through the house, and there's a helmet from a Hydra character. Or no, it was from an AIM character, and it was an AIM and Hydra character. And of course, then you had the Hydra commercial in the same episode. And I'm thinking, oh, and it's a hexagon, and AIM does hexagons. Like, I loved doing that. I haven't had that joy until, Wednesday, and I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to more.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Very excited.
Yeah. Any more predictions before we end? We are just at an hour.
Predictions, no. Maybe after the 3rd episode I'll have more. But right now I'm just like, I have no idea where this is going right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we do know it's going down the witch's road.
Yep. That was a good one.
Like, dad jokes. No, but yeah, thank you guys for joining, and those of you who are watching, thank you for watching. If you don't already know, be sure to check out It's Fanbox. This is the fan dedicated version or the division of Nerd Initiative. We're still part of the Nerd Initiative family. And if you aren't following Nerd Initiative, please go follow Nerd Initiative, nerdinitiative.com, for all of your comic book and movie and TV show reviews and news. You get it from there. And you guys are more than welcome. I'm not going to put you on the spot here while we're live, but let you know you are more than welcome to join. I'm going to be doing this again next week, probably the same. Well, since it's Batman Day, I'll say same bat time, same bat channel. But yeah, definitely it's gonna be fun to kind of break down and dissect things, and I want to do that. I want to nerd out on the show, and I absolutely love the fact that we can do this again and have these conversations. And so by all means, would love to have you guys. You're all welcome. You can tell me offline. Don't have to put me on the spot. But again, if you don't show up next week, it's because you hate me and you don't want to do it. That's okay. No, I'm just kidding. But with that said, let's just go ahead. Sarah, go ahead and say where we can find you again.
Sure. So on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, I am at Movies and Tea.
Okay. And Tony Ann?
Yes. Yep. Tony Ann. You got it right the second time. Okay. On TikTok, it is TikTok and YouTube, it's at Scarlet Bruja. And then on Instagram, it's the Scarlet Bruja.
Right. And if you don't know, you got to see what. Are you going to do a video showing what you got at Pop Mart?
Yes.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that, so I can be jealous and angry and frustrated. David, go ahead.
You can order online.
Yeah, you got to have money first. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
True. I found some of their blind boxes at Newbury Comics, if you're ever around there. But they are a hefty price. They're like $17.99.
I am Xanatos1138 on all social media, mostly TikTok though.
Yep. And if you want to hear about Star Wars, that he's definitely the person. Sarah is anything and everything that she's interested in. I'm not gonna say anything specific, but I will say congratulations from stuff I've seen before.
Thanks.
And so let me just ask this real quick. I'm not going to be doing it this year. I'm on hiatus for this. How many of you guys are going to be at New York Comic Con this year?
Oh my gosh!
All right, so you guys can definitely meet up for that, and enjoy that. And I'm taking the break. A lot going on in life, but we'll definitely be there in spirit. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for joining us. And again, follow, you can go to It's Fanbox, itsfanbox.com. And it'll take you right to our YouTube channel if you're following on X. And I think there are a number of people that are watching on X. Be sure to like and subscribe. You can find us also on TikTok, Instagram, and X. If you don't know, it's Fanbox. That's just all it is. It's so simple. One of the most frustrating things that we did Nerd Initiative was it was like there were already something that was called Nerd Initiative. Nerd Initiative is trademarked by us, but it was like this one's Nerd Initiative, then there's Nerd Initiative, then there's Nerd Initiative 1, and it's like, come on, just so I literally when we were trying to find a name, Michael came up with the idea for It's Fanbox. I'm like, I love the name. Now let me make sure that it's not going to be a problem. everywhere. Let me just register everywhere before we even decide if we're going to do this. So yes, at It's Fanbox, everywhere you might want to find us. We'd appreciate that. Everyone have a wonderful evening. We'll catch you next week with more Agatha All Along as we continue down the Witch's Road.